Hey fellas, Meat Trapper here. I mentioned earlier in an earlier video that we're going to be doing a series on knives for the trapline, and so before we can do that, we got to get out on the trapline. We got to actually catch a beaver or two. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to see if we can catch a beaver, and if so, we're going to put a couple of knives to the test. And the subject of this video is tiny knives. We're going to have two knives that are very small. We're going to have a Bark River Mini Canadian. And then we're going to have an LT Wright Frontier First. The idea here is not to decide which knife is better or which maker is better or anything like that. It's simply to see how these type of knives perform on the trapline when we're actually skinning something, and just to give you my honest feedback on these blades. A lot of people think you got to have a big knife to do something, and I think you're going to be surprised at just how effective these two knives are. So let's go ahead, let's get out there, let's catch some beavers. Alright, now my first thought between these two blades, one is a Bark River Mini Canadian, the other is a Frontier First by LT Wright. Both of these are A2 blades, both about the same length. Mini Canadian's a little bit bigger than the Frontier First, but both of them are basically 3-finger blades. Both are A2 steel. My initial thought is that the Bark River is probably going to be a little bit better skinner, simply because of the amount of belly on the blade, whereas the LT Wright is probably a little bit better suited for EDC. But what we're going to do is, we've got a good sized beaver here. We're going to skin this beaver using both of these blades, and I'm just going to give you a running commentary of my thoughts as I use these knives to skin the beaver. And you know, it's not to determine which knife is better or anything like that. Just the fact that when I go to skin, I'm going to just give you feedback on how the knives feel and how they seem to be performing for me. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this part of the beaver is one of the toughest parts. You can see it's not really fat, it's more like a combination of gristle. So this is a fairly tough area to be working in right here. And so far, there's not really a whole lot of perceived difference on this opening cut. This is just cutting through the pelt here. Nothing really challenging. Now we'll start actually doing a little bit of skinning here. You can see that little blade, I can get my finger right up on it. Now I'm starting to notice that the Mini Canadian seems to be require a little less effort to do the cuts and skinning here. It just seems to flow a little bit easier. Nothing wrong with the LT. It's a good little knife. It's doing good. And honestly, so far, it's really hard to tell a difference between the performance of the two knives. They're both doing great. One thing I am noticing with the rounded handle on this one, it's once you get a little dirty, it gets a little slippery, and I'm noticing a tendency when I have to exert some torque that it kind of slips in the hand, whereas the finger guards on this one tend to give a little bit more of a secure grip when it gets messy. Yeah, I don't feel that torquing in my hand, whereas this one is a little bit easier to slip. But then again, it's not designed as a skinning knife. I mean, it's no knock on the knife. It's just an observation on if you're looking for a skinning knife, what type of handle should you be looking for. Just something to consider. Now what we're going to see is when we get down to the head, we're going to be bumping up against bone on the skull constantly, and that's where a lot of the wear is going to take place. So we'll see how this goes. There's the first ear right there. You can see that's the bone right there, and you're just constantly pushing up against that bone. So we'll do this side with one. We'll work on the other side with the other. And there's one eye. You can see we're hitting right up against that bone on every cut. It's really a wear point. Now we're getting down to just the tip of the nose. And here we go. We've got the pellet. You can see there's the nose, whiskers, the ears, we'll we'll end up having to flesh that and stretch it. But when it came to skinning the animal, really both knives performed great. The biggest difference to me is the handle design. Of course, this is not a skinning knife, it's an EDC type knife, a little Frontier First. This tended to rotate in my hands a little bit more, whereas the handle design on this one was a little bit more secure in the hand. But we're not done. We got to get the meat, because that's what we're after here. We're gonna get the back straps, the hams, liver, the kidneys, and then we'll see how they hold up. Okay, so let's get some back straps out of here. We'll start with the LT. We'll do one side here. We'll trim that up a little bit. But nice little back strap there. We'll put that to the side. Now we'll use the Bark River on the other one. Right through it, not a problem. There we go. Now we're going to take this hind quarter off. You probably can't see all down in here too good. It's kind of an awkward angle to be skinning, but we're going to pop that joint. That's where a good tip comes in. You can see, hopefully you can see in there, I've got to get in there and pop that joint like that, and then I can take that hind quarter off. There we go. Nice hind quarter. Let's do the other one here. And the hind quarter number 2. Now let's get the liver and the kidneys. You can see there's the liver there. Very large liver, and I prefer it to beef liver, calf liver, or anything else. If you're a liver eater, you'll love it. Now let's force through those ribs there. Very nice, very nice, good job. Now let's do this other side here. Let's get the heart. There we go. Organ meat is good for you. Now let's take the liver. Oops. Nice, clean looking liver, no spots, very healthy animal. There's kidney number 1. Kidney number 2. Okay, let's see how they slice some paper after we've finished up. I've cleaned the knives up, but I haven't stropped them or anything like that. So let's start with the mini Canadian here. You can see it's a little grabby, and I'm going to show you something here in just a second. See, it'll still slice. It slices paper. But what I was really surprised about, and hopefully you can see this, there's a chip right there. I'll take a picture of it and show you, but hopefully you can see that. And I did not expect this out of A2. There you can see it right there. I'll take a picture and give you a better view of it. But I really was surprised that with the light usage that I gave this. I mean, yeah, we did pop the leg joint with this knife, and but that was more up by the tip. And it does, you know, anytime you're skinning beavers like that, you're going to hit the skull. You're going to be hitting that bone. But with A2, I really did not expect this to happen. And you can see it still slices good. I mean, very, very clean. And I attribute that to the edge geometry. That convex edge really does hold an edge well. But you can see it's got a little chip in there, right there. Of course, I can fix that. You know, I'll take and put that on sandpaper and get that cleaned up. But I have to admit that I was surprised at that. But other than the fact that the blade chipped, this knife performed well. One other thing that I noticed, and this is it's not a knock on the blade or anything, it's just the small size of this blade. Many times when I would go to make a cut, the flesh would come back to this area back here. And so this would not be, of course, my first choice for a dedicated skinner, but it does show that the knife will work, and it sort of punches ahead of its size, as they say. Nice blade. Handle was worked well. Very handy. I'm just a little surprised by that chip right there. Now, for the LT Wright, there was no chipping or anything. What's interesting is both of these knives had the factory edge, and the LT Wright, as you can see, took a patina from the usage, and I gave both knives the same treatment. Both knives were used basically the same amount. They were washed the same way at the same time, and then they were rubbed, given a coat of ballistol as a protectant. The Bark River didn't develop a patina. The LT Wright did. I don't know if that means anything, but and also there was no chipping. So let's take a look at this blade, and let's see. This still slices paper, but it's not slicing as easily as the Bark River. This is taking a little more pressure to slice through it. You know, it still works, but it is not slicing as cleanly as the Bark River. You can see the difference there. And I think I used them basically in an equal amount. You know, I don't think one got used or abused more than the other. So they both basically did half a beaver. Now, both of these blades, I can put them on a strop. I'll put this one on some sandpaper, get that nick out of the edge, then strop them back up, and they'll be good to go. So anyway, the point of this video is not to declare a winner, but just to show that you're going to get good performance out of these blades. And what's probably more important than a particular grind or a particular blade steel, when you get down to it, is the design of the blade, the design of the handle, and looking at that in light of your intended usage. Like I say, when I was skinning, this knife here tended to rotate a little more easily in my hand when I tried to torque it, whereas this knife here with the finger guards was a little more secure, had a little more secure grip when I was torquing and making cuts like that. And that's just the design. So the bottom line is, it's not that one knife is better than the other. It's when you go to choose a knife, there's more to it than just a blade steel or a grind. You need to look at the handle, you need to look at the blade design, and whatever your intended usage is. To me, this is a great EDC knife. I wear this knife around my neck a lot, in a little as a necker. Just a great little knife. And this one, to me, is a little bit more of a special purpose knife, more of a skinner orientation. So it just depends on what your intended usage is. Well, I hope that was worthwhile. My takeaway from this little experiment is, number one, you don't have to have a big knife to actually accomplish something like putting meat on the table. These knives are very small. They did a great job of skinning that beaver. Takeaway number two, it's not the manufacturer of the knife, or the brand of the knife. It's not even the steel and all these things that people love to argue and obsess over. To me, it's more the design of the knife. What type of blade does it have on it? What is your intended usage? Take a look at the handle. Is the handle going to fit your hand, and is it cut out for the type of use that you're going to give it? These are just fundamental things you need to look at when picking out a knife for whatever task you're going to use, and try not to get off in the weeds on all the details. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we got plenty more where this is coming from. We got a lot more knives to test, so stay tuned.